Hey guys, just a quick programming note before we start. I initially planned to do this video as just a coverage of the Austria-Germany game, but it ended up being more of a look at the rest of the tournament. So I'm going to put a timestamp. If you want to skip the Austria-Germany stuff, look on screen and go to where it says. Let's get started. As a big fan of the World Juniors and international hockey generally, I really enjoyed yesterday's Austria-Germany game. To call Austria underdogs in Group A would be putting it lightly. Going into their game against Germany, they were yet to score and had been scored on 31 times in 3 games. No doubt that was on the minds of the players going into the game, and they also probably knew that Germany was their best chance to score. What I loved to see was how much my fellow Haligonians, for those who don't know, that's people who live in Halifax, was cheering for and supporting the Austrians, especially after Canada had dismantled them, which I'll talk about in a moment. Germany, however, would score the first 2, getting a goal at the end of the first period, then one right to start the second. However, in the second, Austria would also get a penalty shot, and just listen to the crowd roaring in excitement.
It has to be.
Unfortunately, they wouldn't convert. However, halfway through the period, Ian Scherzer would get Austria's first goal of the tournament, and the crowd celebrated like Canada had just won gold.
3 seconds to go in the Austrian power play. Scherzer shoots, scores! Austria's got one!
I loved it. Germany would score another. However, in the third, Austria would get their second of the game and the tournament, and they actually played pretty well, getting the last 10 or 15 shots to end the game. So where does this leave us? Well, first of all, congrats to Austria, but we now know they will be facing off against Latvia in a 3-game relegation round. The loser of that will not play in the next World Junior Tournament and will be replaced by Norway. The final games of round 1 are today, and they're pretty huge. Probably the most anticipated game, Sweden and Canada. If Sweden wins, they'll secure the top spot in Group A. If they lose in regulation, Canada can technically take top spot, but so could Czechia, which has a relatively easier game against Germany. If they get even an overtime loss, the best Canada could get is second because Czechia does have that head-to-head win. There are other complex situations if Sweden has overtime losses or wins, but not really worth considering. We'll see how the table shapes up. In Group B, we have a very interesting game, Finland versus the United States. We could get a very, very interesting situation if Finland were to lose that game. Then we could actually see the Slovaks at the top of Group B because they do have that head-to-head win against the US. They lost to Finland, but again, if Finland has an overtime loss and Slovakia wins in regulation, they could be top of the group. Very, very interesting tournament. I've loved it, and it's just been great how competitive it's been. So the next round, the playoffs, is pretty interesting because it's cross-group seeding. So basically, seed 1 in Group A will play against seed 4 in Group B. If it stayed exactly as it is now, that would be Sweden versus Switzerland, Czech versus Slovakia, Canada versus the US, and Germany versus Finland. Then the brackets reseeded. Anyway, it's going to be a day full of action, so I'm very excited for that. I do also need to give a very special thank you to Jeff and Dylan. I mentioned I was looking for tickets to the tournament. They had tickets to the Austria-Canada game they weren't going to be in town for, so they sold them to me and my dad. We got to go see a game. It was an incredible experience. So thankful for those guys. We had really cool seats. They were right near the glass. Thankfully, it was the side that Canada was shooting on for 2 periods. Got to see Othman's crazy through the leg assist, Bedard's diving goal. It was my first time ever seeing him play in person, and I gotta say, he's pretty incredible. Obviously, he's only 17, so you could tell he was struggling with the board battles and fighting for loose pucks, but when he did have the puck, his playmaking was incredible. I'm going to heavily be shaking down Halifax to see if I can get tickets to any of the further games. I don't think it's likely, so again, special thank you to those guys. But that's all for now. I expect to do more coverage as the tournament continues. Overall, just so much fun. Let me know what you guys think, though, down below.